It is an honour and a privilege for me to speak here today on behalf of Lasair at gravesides of those who led the 1916 Rising, to mark the 106th anniversary of the executions of James Connolly and Sean MacDiarmada. Dublin, with its long Republican history, like so many other towns, cities and counties across Ireland, has good reason to be proud of its contribution in every phase of the struggle for national liberation. This was the city that took on the British Empire, declared a republic, and held back the might of the empire as it fought for sovereignty. In the early decades of the 20th century, this city was the driving force of revolutionary struggle in Ireland. And so we gather in Dublin today to acknowledge the sacrifice of those who fought and died at least a week, and to commemorate all those who martyred for an Irish Socialist Republic. I'd like to invite Missy Chan to lay a wreath on behalf of Lasair Dublin. And if anyone else has a wreath to lay, please do so now. I'll now call upon Jenny Martin to read the names of those executed after the Rising, many of whom lay here in Arbour Hill.
The following were executed by Britain in the weeks and months after the Rising: Patrick Pearse, Thomas McDonough, Thomas Clark, Joseph Plunkett, William Pearce, Edward Daly, Michael O'Hanrahan, Sean McBride, Eamon Chance, Michael Mallon, Sean Euston, Con Colbert, Thomas Kent, executed in Cork, James Connolly, Sean MacDiarmada, Roger Caseman, executed in Pentonville Jail, England.
I now invite you all to observe a moment's silence during the lowering of the flags. "106 years ago, at 12 noon on Easter Monday, the women and men of the Irish Citizen Army and the Irish Volunteers marched out together from Liberty Hall, the headquarters of the Irish Transport and General Workers Union. As they moved off to take different parts of Dublin City, a detachment outside the GPO gathered to hear the proclamation of the Irish Republic. That document was both radical and visionary. It declared the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland, to be sovereign and indefeasible. It guaranteed religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunity to all its citizens, and declared its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and to cherish all its children of the nation equally. It rejected sectarian divisions fostered by the British government in the interests of maintaining its hold on Ireland. 106 years on, it is a vision that has yet to be realised. Despite Britain's vastly superior military forces, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizen Army fought courageously in defence of the Republic. Many paid the ultimate price for their stand, and we are here today to pay our respects, to remember their sacrifice, and to commit ourselves to the completion of the historic tasks of achieving Irish independence and socialism. While the British state violently suppressed the Rising, executed our leaders, and interned thousands in prison camps, they could not kill or imprison the ideal that inspired it. An ideal that 106 years later continues to thrive, and adherents organised for a 32-county socialist republic. For there is nothing normal about Ireland of today. Though both failed stateless on this island, would having believed that peace has been achieved and therein lies our salvation, the facts would tell you otherwise. For the Ireland of today is one firmly wedded to imperialism and the capitalist economic system. There is nothing normal about the fact that thousands of British combat troops continue to occupy the 6 counties, supported by over 7,000 members of the paramilitary police and hundreds of British military intelligence agents. Combined, there are over 20,000 British security personnel maintaining British occupation of Ireland, fueled by a yearly security budget of billions from the British Exchequer. There is nothing normal about the fact that dozens of Republican prisoners continue to be held in prisons where they are regularly beaten and strip-searched. Denial of visits is a common occurrence. And the prison regime in the 6 counties continues Britain's policy of criminalisation. And there is nothing normal about the fact that a British Tory government, albeit assisted by storming puppet parliament, continues to impose a regime of real-term wage cuts, poverty and a declining health service. There is nothing normal about the fact that on an almost a daily basis, international military flights continue to ship soldiers, machinery and heavy weaponry to Irish airports on the way to other global conflicts. Indeed, there is nothing normal about hundreds of thousands of families living without a home, as hundreds of thousands of homes lie empty to be used not to house the people that need them, but commodities with ever-increasing profits. There is nothing normal about poverty, food banks, hunger and malnutrition. There is nothing normal about capitalism. Those grovelling, dirt-eating capitalists that Connolly rallied against continue to be in the ascendancy, and like Connolly, our task is to destroy the parasitic capitalist system that continues to profit from our misery. This is the context within we find ourselves. It is why Lasair was formed just a few short years ago. At our inception, we were very conscious of the enormity of the decision we had undertaken of the road that lay ahead. We were conscious also of the very weak condition of which within the Irish social republicanism now found itself. We accepted that the revolutionary potential that existed just some decades ago had been subverted and marched into the political cul-de-sac of constitutional nationalism, and we believe that this was only temporary. We believe that cul-de-sac is primarily because the Republican struggle at large had failed to cultivate a revolutionary socialist understanding of the economic and political changes required in Ireland. It had failed to define the character of socialism we espoused, and in doing so allowed others to define it for us. There has been a failure to instill a revolutionary socialist consciousness within the broad Republican community with regard to the real nature of the struggle in Ireland. As always, the failure of our struggle has been a failure to grasp, as Connolly attested, that a social republic is the application to agriculture and industry, to the farm, the field, the workshop, of the democratic principle of the Republican ideal. The struggle for national independence has thus far failed because we ourselves have failed to make this demand a genuine and central element of the broader Republican programme. Resistance to Brit rule must be in essence be about the rejection of philosophy that would hold the interests of one class as being superior to those of another. Our struggle must be rescued from the reformist cul-de-sac in which it finds itself. Writing in Shan van Vogt in 1897, Connolly asserted how, if the national movement of our day is not merely to reenact the old sad tragedies of our past history, it is to show itself capable of rising to the exigencies of the moment. It must demonstrate to the people of Ireland that our nationalism is not merely a morbid idealism of past, results capable of formulating a distinct and definite answer to the problems of the present, and a political and economic creed capable of adjustment to the wants of the future. This concrete political and social ideal will be best supplied, I believe, by the frank acceptance on the part of all earnest nationalists of the Republic as their goal. The challenge facing us all today is the acknowledgement that the road that leads to the achievement of all our objectives begins with the development of a socialist Republican movement, a movement firmly embedded in the politics and economics of Connolly and Kearney. There is no other way to realise this goal. Lest others define it for us, our socialist republicanism is the requisition of all empty homes to be handed over to the people who need them. It is a rooting of capitalist class who would seek those homes for their own enrichment. Our socialist republicanism is the nationalisation of all natural resources, where reserves of oil and gas and the natural environment are held in trust for the people. Where the right to work also means a right to a real living wage, where bodily autonomy, the right to choose, and the right to adequate healthcare is not just an empty promise. Our socialist republic is anti-imperialist. We desire a democratic state, but we do not believe that democracy should extend only as far as the laws within the capitalist society allow. We believe that a democratic decision making should extend into every corridor, building and financial institution in every corner of these 32 counties. That economic democracy is the basis upon which a 32-county socialist republic will thrive. That decision making should not be reserved to the gatekeepers of the economy, but that every citizen should hold a key to that gate. The working class have been forced for too long now to pay the gambling debts of a parasitic class of bankers and property speculators, driven into debt, slavery, in order to rescue the rotten class privilege of the capitalist system. Wages continue to drop in real terms across the island as inflation and cost of living drive normal working people to food banks. And this great tragedy is not one faced by only the Irish people. These issues are more the daily concern of the global masses. The Palestinian people have themselves suffered and continue to suffer a great tragedy. Today falls on the eve of what Palestinians call Al-Nakba, the catastrophe. On the 15th of May 1948, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forced out of their villages, farms and homes, which they had lived for many generations. Tens of thousands were massacred by Zionist forces as part of a huge land grab of Palestinian territory. This coincided with the ending of British control of the Palestinian territory and the effective handing over of land to Zionist forces. Britain had no moral, political or legal right to promise the land that belonged to the Palestinians to other people. In recent days, the situation in Palestine has begun being brought into sharp focus. Journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, 51, was shot in Jenin in the West Bank on Wednesday morning while wearing a helmet and a protective jacket labelled Press, whilst working for Al Jazeera's Arabic channel. Unarmed, she was shot down in cold blood by Zionist foot soldiers intent on hiding the truth. Not content with taking her life, they removed what dignity she had left by covering up the nature of her killing and then brutally attacking her funeral and those who mourned her. These scenes are all too familiar to us in Ireland, having witnessed the brutality of the occupation here and its response to the mourners at Republican funerals. For decades, Irish Republicans have supported the Palestinian people in their pursuit of a country free from our foreign occupation. Lasair, in conjunction with other revolutionaries throughout the world, will continue in that support, and we call upon people through Ireland to remember Al-Nakba and the call for expulsion of settlers from land they have stolen. The Palestinian Nakba did not end in 1948. The ethnic cleansing of Palestine is still happening, and so too is Palestinian resistance. Like Palestine, we must too continue to resist. The business of Easter Week 1916 remains unfinished. The task facing the present generation of Irish socialists and Republicans is no less daunting than that faced by the women and men who marched out from Liberty Hall on Easter Monday 1916. Capitalism and imperialism remain in the Dáithí. The 6 counties remain under British occupation. The finance capital and its international agents rule the 26 counties. The working class across Ireland continues to be sacrificed to rescue the rotten, corrupt system of capitalism. We must all commit ourselves to uprooting that system and playing our part in completing that task commenced on Easter week in 1916, the establishment of a socialist republic. It is only fitting tribute we can pay to all of those Republicans and socialists who have gone before us. Erailen Michaela, Very Good.